alright.
From the combination express, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this road we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand. In this dance of truth, let the story expand. Woke up with a smile, sunlight on my face. Gonna make it worthwhile. Feel the good vibes embrace. Step into the street, music in the air. Move into the beat, no worries to declare. We're chasing happiness and never ever can. Living in the moment like a never-ending dance. Chasing happiness, not a single day is planned. Together we are stronger, hand in hand. Laughing with my friends, echoes in the park. Joy that never ends, even when it's dark. Stars shine in the night, mirror in our eyes. Everything feels right underneath the skies. We're chasing happiness and never ever can. Living in the moment like a never-ending dance. Chasing happiness, not a single day is planned. Together we are stronger, hand in hand. Hand in hand. Laughing with my friends, echoes in the park. Joy that never ends, even when it's dark. Stars shine in the night, mirror in our eyes. Everything feels right underneath the skies. We're chasing happiness and never again. Living in the moment like a never-ending invites us to contemplate. Feel that chill when shadows align. Experiences unfold one of a kind. Off-world encounters, truth they must find. Open your heart, release your mind. Take the leap, step into the light. With SNX Radio we will ignite a symphony of strange where the bass drops low. Journeying deep where the unknown flows. Life beyond the veil of sight. What secrets kept from our human plight? Coley's conversations stir the thread. An awakening call for the living and the dead. Take the leap, step into the night. With SNX Radio we will ignite a symphony of strange where the bass drops low. Journeying deep where the unknown flows. The echoes fade and the night draws near. The truths we seek become crystal clear. With SNX Radio, keep your mind open wide, for in this journey we all confide.
Hello. Great. Can you hear me, Rodney?
Oh crap, my mic was muted. See, I'm sorry about that. I forget you mute it right before we go on. Yeah, another great episode of the headliner, Jesse Marcel. I can't wait.
Yes, Jesse Marcel is on tonight. I'm so excited. I got so excited that I think StreamYard kicked me right off. So I don't know what was up with that, but it definitely was. You know, I guess this will not do Jesse Marcel any justices, but I tell you, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to SNX Radio, and thank you for taking the journey into the unknown with us. Tonight you have Coley and Rodney, our space cowboy. So I just wanted to get that in there too, and welcome everybody from chat. I see Tim Mothman; he's got it. Yeah, this will be an awesome show. It really will. So embracing the legacy of his grandfather. If you guys don't know this, Jesse Marcel is renowned for his role in the iconic Roswell Crash of 1947. So Jesse Marcel III has embarked on a passionate quest to explore the unexplained and unresolved phenomena that continue to captivate the minds of the people worldwide. He is very much scientific based. Jesse's just not out there, talking. No, the ways and I mean, he's brilliant. First of all, he has probably one of the most brilliant minds I've come across. But yeah, he just you'll definitely really appreciate his take on everything. You can catch Jesse on an episode of popular shows like Ancient Aliens, where he delves into the intriguing mysteries surrounding extraterrestrial encounters and their impact on human history. So, yeah, First Witness, his on-screen presence and storytelling abilities, so contribute to the show's captivating narratives. Like Jesse's, like he's great. I guess um, instead of me, and we're going to talk about some really cool patents that he has going on and projects. He's always got projects going on. So without further ado, I think let's just bring Jesse out front, and he can fill you in on a lot more as soon as we get him up on stage here.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just the Roswell crash.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's
Hey,
so much
Jesse.
to go, Jesse. There he is. Oh, we're gonna pull him back up. There you go. Welcome, Jesse.
You
welcome,
guys are way too
welcome.
kind. You're making me blush. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, come on now. I just absolutely, when I dug through your stuff, I was just like, wow. Is there anything that Jesse Marcel does not do? And you have so much of this in the basis covered. So if you want to give an introduction of who Jesse Marcel is, like as a
Sure.
person.
Well, myself or my grandfather?
You, of
third.
course. We'll start with you.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
you.
starting with me. I guess not to hope don't bore anybody, but I grew up immersed in the Roswell story because of my grandfather and father. I lived a life from a child on with no boundaries. Living out in the country, really, there weren't many honest rules or anything. Um, and like example, I've said it on other shows too, is that my father literally built an atom smasher in our basement. You know that's the how I grew up, going to the laboratory in Helena where I grew up at. Just being surrounded by brilliant people, open mindedness. Yeah, my dad built a big telescope in the observatory actually in our backyard, so I spent many nights out there. So it's just a very open, very immersive lifespan or lifetime where just everything was possible, and not to discount anything because you never know, what's possible, what's not possible, that kind of thing. But as part of that, I I was, go through school, that kind of thing, get out and better get a job, have a family, do that kind of thing, the right thing to do. And in that I was, and that in that during that I thought, it'd be nice to get back into a little bit of the family history, the Roswell stuff. It's kind of fun. I did that first for whatever reasons. And so I decided to put a book out there, and that was fun. And by doing some stints, started meeting people, and speaking with my father, my sister, and that kind of thing. It's kind of fun. All the while, my background, although my college education wasn't in this area, but it was in more in the areas of science, and I've built a life, or I guess my life and my family's life is now built around the scientific aspects of various technologies and that kind of thing. And like Coley mentioned, I'll get an idea, then I'll go through and I kind of taught myself how to write patents, and in that process, so you get an idea, write a patent around it, build a company around it, and then hopefully things take off. So I've been doing a lot of that in the last 15 years, I suppose, and it's come out really well. So I really enjoy that, and so I like I said, inventing, patenting. Spare time, I do a lot of other things. I started a small company that's basically kind of like a artificial intelligence guided healthcare, and involving that. And as I'm watching, this kind of sparked when the inauguration of Trump. They announced they're putting out 2 crypto coins. I thought, if they're doing that, there must be something to this. So I immersed myself into the blockchain, the cryptocurrency markets, how all this stuff works, and I decided, well, I'm going to jump on board. So I've minted a couple of tokens in the meantime, and have a couple of projects going out with that. So just all over the map, but having a good time. And like this picture back behind me, I mentioned it's a board game I'm releasing, and just some other things. So I apologize. It's kind of all over the map, but that's me.
No, that's the best part about you. So yeah, why don't you tell them then a little bit of history going to Roswell and who your grandpa was and how your
Okay.
dad and eventually it came to you and then yeah, I'm sure people will be. It's a fascinating story. I love listening to it.
It all started for me during an episode of Star Trek way back when I was a child. And when we were watching, I remember very vividly, orange countertop, 70s house, television, playing Star Trek, and we're having dinner. And my father mentions Jesse Marcel II. It was Dr. Marcel, and he had mentioned something online, said, this is real. He said, well, Star Trek science fiction, but the idea of life out there is real. And well, that's fascinating. And I think I must have been 7 or 8 years old, something like that. And then he mentioned that my grandfather was part of a discovery of something that wasn't from here. And of course, that was very fascinating. And that following summer, we're heading out to Houma, Louisiana, where he lived, he and his wife, and my grandmother Vio. And so that was kind of the beginning of it. Of course, thousands of questions later, finally, sit and talk to my grandfather about it. And I was lucky enough to. He grew up in a small house in Houma, Blue Bayou, and there was a small stream behind it, a bayou behind it, and so I went fishing with them whenever we went down there. So I kind of learned the story of Roswell and then all that kind of thing, and how it met with my father's experiences with it, my grandfather's experiences with it, and my grandfather, which I enjoyed far more than just the Roswell stuff. He was a very interesting gentleman, very, very smart, very intelligent. And it was just fun because he'd always kind of dip the toes a little bit into Roswell and then pull back out again and say, oh, we can't go too far down there or whatever. But it's kind of fascinating. So I learned a lot, which a lot of the world already knows. Maybe not everything, but the thing he was called out to it down in Roswell, New Mexico, actually it was in June of 1947. Or the end of June 1947, and there was some kind of a debris that a ranch hand found, and his boss said, "Hey, go take a look at this stuff, see what you think." And my grandfather went down and took a look at it and said, "Well, I don't know what it is." And we went back and talked to his Blanchard, his boss, basically. And he said, "Well, take a look out. Go out to the fields. Tell me what you think. See what you find out there." And that's kind of in an abrupt form. My grandfather went out there. And as he's seeing all this debris and picking up and kind of going through it, he kind of, at that time, said that this was what he saw was, in his opinion, not made by human hands. And he was in touch enough. He was the head of intelligence for the Roswell Army base, and at the time, and he was in touch with what was going on, the various aircraft, weather balloons. For instance, so he was involved in all that kind of thing. Anything having to the base there around, he was involved with. And he just came in and said, this is very interesting, strange. The properties of it were different than anything experienced. This is 1947. When he was out there, there also said, they had the government gentleman was with him, and they were there to make sure to get their story straight. And at the end of it, he basically sent the government official home. And he stuck around and gathered a small amount of debris, threw it in his car, in a box, and drove it back to his home. And where my father, I think, was around 11 years old, and he said he wanted to bring it back and show them what was in the field. And he woke my father up and my grandmother up after placing debris in the kitchen. And he said, "Hey, take a look at this. What do you guys think?" And chuckling, the story is my grandmother was, "Why'd you make a big mess of my kitchen?" That was kind of where she was on it. My father was like, "Well, what are we looking for?" And my grandfather responded, "Do you see anything that looks like?" And at that time, there was tubes, there were those kind of things. You see any wires, tubes, that kind of thing, anything that you would think was current, what you'd think of as current, probably the word technology, but really technology at the time. And can you fit anything together? Do you see how any of this stuff might fit together? And my father, again, he was going through it, and he grabbed one of the parts of it, which was an I-beam, and he describes as a cross section of an I-beam. Put it under a light and realized that if you looked at the piece of metal under a light and angled it, that these symbols appeared on it. And if you look dead on, there was really nothing. If you angle it, you could see them. And it was always kind of a funny inside joke. It's not inside by any means anymore. But my father asked my grandfather, what do you think it means? And he said that well, you might be the first human to be looking at this alien language. So obviously, my grandfather really believed what he found was something not from here. And then my dad asked, well, what do you think it says? And he said, I don't know, maybe how to use the onboard bathroom. I have no idea. So that was kind of how it all kicked off. And the material they found out there was, like a smooth metal, kind of like a tin foil, very, very thin, very lightweight. Again, these beams appear to be structural, and anywhere from broken off from a few inches to several feet long. Miles and miles of what he described as like a fiber optics, that kind of thing. And then my father described it this way. I didn't hear my grandfather describe it this way, but lots of burnt plastic all over the place. Wow. And he said it had the smell of like a bakelite, old countertops from back then, or electronics bakelite. Actually, if I have something around here made of bakelite, but I don't see it. But it was a common material back then. But he said it looked like it was all burnt up. It was all for whatever reason. Wow. And they would go through it, and at the end of it, he'd end up by boxing it all up, going back to the base with material, doing his report about what he'd found, and it launched more further investigations. The memory of my father about this wasn't exactly clear at the time, and he said he doesn't know if he was back in a couple of days, or it was more like a week by the time he returned home. But he came back and then was sent out again for I think it was like a week or two. And it was supposed to be a vacation. We actually have all the orders he was receiving back then, and they don't really line up with the stories. And because there was in Roswell, everything was kept on paper at the time, and their file cabinets, for some reason, July of 1947, that file cabinet was caught fire and was burnt up. And so all these records supposedly were gone. But my grandfather was very fastidious. He kept copies of everything. And some of those were where he and some other people were sent somewhere to talk. And the idea is that when they left, when he came back from that meeting, he sat down with my father and grandmother, and he said very specifically that this was a non-event. And they used that word non-event. You didn't say anything, you didn't hear anything, you're not to talk to anybody about anything that you saw that night. And that was it. And that really the story inside my family, not with my grandfather, of course, but inside, as far as my father was concerned, it wasn't really talked about again until the early 70s. And where it came out. And it did turn out that my grandfather was talking to, I always thought it was funny that the name Marcel, I thought, well, that's unique. Growing up in the Northwest, never heard of anybody else named Marcel. And so going to, it turns out back at home in Louisiana, of everybody's named Marcel, it seems like. And so I have, tons of relatives down there. And my grandfather talked to several of them, a number of them, about Roswell, even more than I had known. And it was kind of fascinating. But so that's kind of the indoctrination of the story. And then, of course, multiple crash sites, were there bodies, just all those kind of things came up quite a number of times. And it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, it is a completely fascinating story. I somehow messed up just ignore what's going on here on the stage, because I accidentally, I might have to just pull us all off and pull you back on because I bumped something. So I apologize here really quick before we go any further into this. I don't think.
Oh no, she might be just a click away from saving it.
There we go. Yes. Okay. There's much better. So Jesse, can you go back to, so your dad saw an inscription in there where he thought might have been like the first ET language that anybody's ever come across, or were you able to, does he remember anything about it? Were you able to is it public, or has it been analyzed? That's fascinating to me.
Analyzed to the nth degree over the last 40 years. Oh yeah, very much so. People have had ideas that the one story was they were Christmas wrapping tape, Scotch tape on balsa wood, and this was a balloon. That was one take on what the symbols came from. One take, when you look at them, they were like a light violet hue colored, about 3/8 of an inch tall, so they're fairly small. And a couple things people are thought, well, they look like electron cloud dispersion. Does that mean something? And then I took them and I did my investigation, talked to a lot of people, do studies into codes and all the rest of that kind of thing, and they came up with the idea that perhaps they were a self-propagating map, that actually whatever this material was, that it would keep a track of wherever this thing came from and where it's going to automatically, and these symbols would show up. Another one is that it was basically a kind of a language, and that's where I created a game out of it, actually, are those symbols, because whatever symbol appeared the most often, I'd equate to the most common letter in our alphabet, and build an alphabet out of it and create a font out of it and do that whole thing and then make it and have fun with it. But no, there's been a lot of experience. I mean, one was kind of intriguing, was that a guy came with the idea because of the size and the coloring. He thought that whatever this came from, an aqueous world, where the symbols could be seen underwater very easily, and so just all kinds of fun and interesting ideas. I mean, nobody exactly knows, but it is intriguing to think about what it could mean. I mean, I do like the idea of the map idea. Definitely, alphanumeric sign, in our, for us anyway. But it's fascinating. I don't believe they were Scotch tape. In fact, my sister Denise, somewhere on eBay, I guess at one time, found that same tape from that era that somebody was selling from 1947. And they basically said, well, the military used Christmas tape to hold things together back then because there was a lot of it, whatever. Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of logic to saying that, but okay, so if you're saying that, so we did tests by, okay, let's get the Scotch tape, put it on a piece of balsa wood, set it out in the desert and see what happens. But nothing really happened the way they said it would. Just it was more like our own little investigation, I guess you could say. But so no, the symbols have been fascinating. The materials, which some of the materials had properties that would have been completely abnormal, completely impossible today. Like if you were to get just like a block of stainless steel and drop a BB on it, it's gonna with each bounce, it's gonna drop half as much as the previous bounce roughly until it stops moving, because the energy is being absorbed between the BB and the piece of steel. But with what they had, you could, if you have a BB and you drop it, it would hit it and bounce, and it would able to keep hold of that energy as it was bouncing off that piece of steel. So it's kind of fascinating. There are materials today that are much more like that. They use them in advanced golf heads, that kind of thing. So, but these ideas that they had that kind of decades before we started investigating it, and then if you want in the science idea of how these materials came together, it's not like we're discovering new kinds of elements out there in the universe. There's ways they can show that pretty much the elements we know of are the elements that are out there. But when you heat up a material and you let it cool, you can change the way it reacts to different things. So if you take steel and you make it so it doesn't come back together again, or harden under the a regular circumstance within our atmosphere and our gravity, that kind of thing, but you force it to cool off in a certain pattern. When you create that certain pattern, you can create intensely strong materials, very light materials, those kind of things. So the technology, the idea that you can take elements that exist here, but they're in a different form, is kind of the idea of how it could work, and how you could create a metal. Like a lot of people talked about this memory metal idea. You could wrinkle it up and it come back to its own shape and size, and all that. Yeah, I mean, if you have control over the way that the molecules come together in that form of metal, then you could do that kind of thing. So it is fascinating. It's not like and we're barely touching on the science behind where we're at now on these thoughts, but not just Roswell, just all this kind of thing. But it's kind of fascinating. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And it was enough. Like my grandfather definitely telling his grandkids, basically to the point where he was gone, that this was a real event. My father, a brilliant doctor, is actually a very brilliant physicist as well, and enough to build an observatory so he could watch the skies, because it impacted him very deeply as far as that relationship that he gained from that experience with whatever's out there. So.
Wow, I would imagine so. So did he, after like your grandfather had done all this, did he ever have contact with ETs or anything that you can talk about, I guess?
Not directly that I'm aware of. I mean, would I like to think he did? Yes, I like to think he did. That he was more involved in that. There are some stories, but when you get in that area, it's like it's nothing that was shared with me. I can talk to you as somebody else who's heard the stories, but I don't know it any deeper than you. But there's been lots of things. Has there been any effect by tactily, holding the debris? Did something rub off on him that might have genetically changed him, thereby my dad, thereby me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's fascinating. It's definitely not. Again, they're not saying it couldn't happen. As far as I know, there was no radioactive component to it, none of that kind of thing. That's been asked quite a few times, but I don't. We never talked about anything that said it had any kind of that interference in it anyway. So.
Wow, this
So
is
something that's come out in the last few years, people have mentioned, is that we all know about the Roswell crash, but there was a second site, the impact zone. Now these are separate crafts, is what I'm understanding, and a possibility of body parts, human and animal, within them. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Yeah, I can run through that. The first crash site was more in materials. It was all these different kinds of materials, no bodies, but and this kind of at that point there was some kind of whether it was animal or alien or something was all crunched up in the debris. It was all whatever it was. Did this thing hit a sheep, a cow, whatever it was? But that was in the site that he was involved with. A second site, not far from that, was a more intact craft, as the story goes anyway. And that's where they said there was, aliens, basically two had died and one was still alive, something like that. And when you get to talk to my grandfather about that, he always kind of said the same thing. It's like, well, I wasn't involved in that crash site. I wasn't involved in that part of it, but you can believe what those people said was true. So you can take that down the line. At that point, it's obviously there's a certain amount of hesitation for my grandfather to share too much, because he still was, even growing up, we knew we were being listened to on the phone. We knew that there was people listening to what we're saying. There were certain clicks on the phone, which sounds kind of conspiracy, but it was really happening. So he was kind of careful. He didn't want to drag us down a road that might get us get us, may not in trouble, but just in a place where we'd have to deal with something. He was pretty careful about that. I always like to talk about this one story, which is kind of fun. Is my father was arranging a trip for us to go to LA, Los Angeles, and from his doctor's office, and he'd set up a hotel where we were staying. I don't recall exactly. And he said he hung up the phone. The phone rang. He picked it up, and it was some government. And they said, "Hey, Dr. Marcel, we understand you're going to be staying at this hotel and this room number. Can we meet you there?" So it was that. So it wasn't like it was being hidden that people were listening to him talk, but it was kind of straightforward. And so it's that kind of meddling that he wanted to keep us out of. Of course, as you grow up with the story, you're very fascinated by it and very intrigued by the idea that, is this thing simply whatever, was the technology around to send a craft here? If their technology was to the level, could it bring somewhere like my father thought that whatever would have been there would have been some kind of like, or perhaps a cybernetic, cross, partly alive, partly robotic, whatever, to get here. A lot of different ideas. That was one thing he was talking about. It's all fascinating. I mean, I have my own ideas about it, but I always kind of lump all this, any UFO story, any of this kind of thing into one basket, because it's kind of straightforward. It's like, if you have it's really based on technology. It's like if we have the technology, we're going to go out there and be looking around. We already are. We're already looking for things out there. It's common sense that if you have technology, you're going to explore what's around you. And if you have the right kind of technology, then you can, have, some real scientists and that kind of thing investigating. So I really think it's not really a question of, is there alien life? Are there UFOs? It's a matter of, if the technology's there, and yes, and I believe it is, but it's really that simple. Can they find us? Could they find some? We haven't been around long enough, the way we understand it anyway, for them to find us here. But they might be looking a different way. All these idea of quantum entanglement and the idea of how information can pass. I love this one theory that I was just listening to, and it kind of makes sense to me, in the idea of how does the universe work, and we're composed of, everything is composed of atoms, that kind of thing, and waves, energy, and the idea of it's called a single electron theory, in that we can't define where an electron is. It doesn't move in time. Time doesn't affect it. It has nothing to do with time. Like time's in a different dimension than an electron exists. And because of that, because an electron can move without it's massless. The idea of the speed of light, that kind of doesn't exist to it. It can move at some is massless. It's possible it can move at any time. If that's the case, then maybe, not to go too far off the edge here, but if you look at maybe there's only one electron in the whole entire universe, and that electron occupies the entire universe. So the electron going through me is going through you and everybody at the same time. So we all actually, in a way, communicate. That's whether we're living matter, a rock, anything. And so you start getting there. It's like, well, yeah, if time doesn't exist the way we think of time is, that means you could be everywhere in the universe all at once, anywhere. And if you start doing that, then all of a sudden you can't determine where certain positions are of a particle like that, because there's no way to understand. It looks like it's in several locations at one time. Anyway, this whole thing relates to the idea that if you go down that rabbit hole of superposition, of quantum entanglement, that kind of thing, then all of this, if you could somehow harness information through quantum entanglement, then yeah, you could understand anything happening at any point in the universe, and distance means nothing. And in fact, maybe that's one of the barriers that we've created for ourselves, is imagining our world by this many light years, the universe is this many light years big. Maybe that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just so it's kind of fascinating. Like I said, if you keep going down there, then you realize the limitless possibilities of communication, of all this, of understanding, of intelligence, of consciousness. It's all kind of the same thing once you remove the element of time, which it is. I mean, the time does not exist in certain, in a massless particle, let's say. So
it's deep.
That's fascinating. That just like stopped me in my tracks when you talked about that in the part. Like, wow.
Well, it is fascinating to think that how we could be all connected together. Everything in the universe connected together by that obviously we give a name to it, but just that idea that there's only one of in the entire universe, but it occupies the entire universe. And this Jen was talking about, it's kind of fascinating. The idea of matter is when this particle is moving forward. Antimatter is when it's moving backwards. And see, this particle could move both ways at the same time, if you think about it. They said that, but it's possible moving both ways at the same time. And at that point, then it just blows everything out of the water on a scientific level.
You got me thinking on thought energy. So if energy is particles and thought it takes energy, then your thought. I don't know where I'm going. You got the degrees, not me. You're blowing my mind about this stuff.
It just I'm lucky to have had a very genius father that taught me a lot of things, and that taught me a way to think. That's kind of where I think part of comes from. My son's smarter than me. He's just mind-blowing genius. But
I don't think it's possible.
It's what people call like information downloads, right?
There's information downloads. Whenever I do some kind of a patent or something, I always think it's kind of funny to me, that something's sending this information. I don't know, maybe they did. I'm happy if that's the way it worked out. I have no idea, but maybe that's what it is, a lot for all of us. Again, the idea that we're all connected together completely, by certain particles that are going through our bodies. Everything that makes us, every thought, every neuron is connected, and everything in the universe. all of a sudden we are all part of this big existence, this big intelligence, which is everything. And it's just fun to think about. And it kind of, again, it's out there. It's something we don't understand, but science is proving that there's elements of what I'm talking about are true. And at
you're right.
this point in understanding, they can't disprove it. In science, every 10 years, kind of whatever it was, the belief was now it's, the idea of how information flows, how information or energy is conserved, those kind of things. And like I said, it is completely fascinating.
So do you think this would, like, let's reference consciousness, which obviously, would that be a part maybe of an explanation for what's going on, or how people, what you said just made so much sense, but I'm having like a hard time even putting it into words. Like that would change everything, but it makes sense.
The idea of consciousness, which is interesting, because we really, scientifically can't define consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Is it simply just an order of things happening, and we view ourselves as sentience and conscious, that kind of thing? And I kind of, my personal sense, again, when you consider this connection, is that all our consciousness are connected together. They're all part of the same thing at some level, and at that level, and I like Einstein put it. It's like a friend of his passed away. And he says, well, they're not with us, but they're just over that hill right there. Just because you don't recognize them as being there, they're still around. And that whole idea that existence isn't, we put time on things, but the ideal, I think I love how science fiction made a thing, a Tesseract. The Marvel series made a really cool idea about this stuff, about a physical element or a physical thing being a Tesseract. But the idea is that you can, in the fourth dimension, you can view. If you could be in the fourth dimension, you can look back at your life, but you can look at before you existed, the beginning, the middle, the end, past the end, all at the same time. You could recognize every period of every point in that timeline at any one time. So you could go back and experience your childhood. You could go experience anything you wanted to, because it's all there, and it still is there. It's everywhere around us. We just recognize this very moment in time to ourselves. So it is fascinating when you start taking yourself, like anything else, take yourself out of your situation. It's kind of like that on steroids. And it is, like I said, when you start bringing that together, then is our universe truly a consciousness? And we're just part of that. And that, we definitely, the idea of being, the existence was long before we were in this existence on this, in this area, on this planet, whatever. And it'll extend, pretty much infinitely forward and backwards, where there is no beginning, middle, or end. It's just that this is just a point on that at the point that we recognize of where we exist at this point. But again, since if we truly are, I'm partly Coley, I'm partly we are all of the same thing. We're all, the energies passing through us are all the same. Our thoughts, everything we do is going to affect everything else in some minute way, and it kind of falls through, like in quantum theory, when you're talking about, if you view an experiment, you change the outcome of the experiment. So you can't be aware of the experiment for it to be. You get all these weird quantum entanglements, all these different strange things. And what's interesting is the most interesting thing is, it drives people crazy, because there's no way to explain it unless you're willing to talk a little bit more ethereal, a little more out of the box, and all of a sudden that kind of idea makes sense again, that we are so connected, and everything we think about, as far as, but then where it really becomes fascinating is like, well, if that's the case, that same electron going through me is going through a rock, it's going through a mountain, it's going through a tree, so at that point, what is life? Is everything some form of life? It's completely fascinating, and it does kind of, there's lots of ways to look at it to think that, it does make sense in to me, it makes sense anyway.
Yeah. Well, you caught me off guard on this one. I was like,
kind of went down a different way that you guys, but yeah, it's a fascinating way to think. I think, like, I'm going down the road of I'm working in I'm creating a medical device, be a way to put it, and it measures how fast you're living your life. Basically, is all it works out to be. It's a very complex instrument that does it, but that's what it's doing. And part of the things understanding is that, like, where was what thing in your life did you really love? Was there something, riding a bike as a young girl? Was it listening to a radio station? Was it having a boombox? Was it, going skating? Was it climbing a mountain, whatever that is? But you surround yourself with things from that time period. What you really loved, whatever it was about whatever period it is. And because your brain is going to see that, and it's not necessarily going to know that that isn't part of your life right now. And you can live a life based on the favorite period of time, and that probably isn't 50 years from now. It's like, I remember when I was a kid, I had such a great feeling about this. So it's really possible to, in a way, rewrite your genetics to some level based on your love for a time period. So instead of being caught up, like everybody's like, yeah, well, you're here for a little bit of time, then you're gone. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. The whole thing is that you don't really have a beginning, you don't have an end, and you enjoy that part of the, write yourself to that period of time that you love the most. And guess what? Your genetics, your starts thinking that's what you're doing, and it's just, that is so much healthier than popping a dozen pills and doing whatever whatever the latest thing is out there. But I went through an experience. I think I was 19 years old. Just a really, really bad car accident. I was 1/10 of what happened to me should have killed me. Broken back, burns, everything you possibly think of. Got to the hospital. They were trying to settle me down enough to go into surgery, and I clinically died during that period before getting me into surgery. And they got me through it, pulled me back, said, "Say goodbye to everybody. You ain't making it." And then but there was no moment in time in any of this that I didn't see myself playing basketball. Everything, all I could think about was a good friend of mine, Kent, had out on the court playing basketball with him and our friends. That's all it was on my mind. It was never about being in the hospital. It was never about any of that kind of thing. And it happened twice where they actually invited the family and friends to say goodbye to you. You're not going to make it. And then I did die clinically again one night when I was sleeping. I didn't know about it. I was told everything stopped. But it's all that idea is that I was consciously not going to go anywhere. That was not, again, there people came in just like couldn't believe I was still alive. It was a really bad car accident. And
wow, so you died. You died at a moment.
Yeah, died clinically. I was dead. I was in the room. It was an interesting experience. There's a nurse holding my hand, and they said we lost his heartbeat. And all of a sudden you see all these screens go 0, 0, 0, negative on the beep like you see on TV. It's kind of fun. And I'm doing there, and then I realized that at that point, it's not like, oh, I didn't feel any more pain anymore. Oh, I did this. It was nothing like that. It was like, it's seamless. There was no difference between one and the other. Between what we consider dead and alive, there was no difference. I couldn't physically, other than I was laying down and it felt like I was sitting up at that point. And then I was able to explain where a doctor was coming across the room with some, something to, get my heart going again. And their adrenaline, they're going to pump in my heart. And I saw his hand reach over, grab him, push him to the ground literally, because I had broken all the ribs on my right side. I got hit by a guardrail. And they were thinking that would have ended me. So they ended up by doing some other things. And then anyway, I became acutely aware of every emotion and conversation in the room. But yet there was no synapse. There was no energy between my ear and my brain going at that time. And it just became very acutely, and it's almost like I became more aware of feelings, emotions, senses than I was in the real, in our world, whatever. And I always thought that was fascinating that you're, how that works. And like, again, my mind was never about not being there. And I honestly think that, yeah, I could have thrown in the towel if I wanted to, and I wasn't going to. But so there was a funny story. I was going to a Catholic college, Carroll College in Helena, Montana, and they had called in that I had died. The police, it was like, and of course I didn't. And I'm going to Catholic college. I was pretty beat up. I had to wear robes and slippers. I was just really mangled up, so I couldn't wear clothes and stuff for a little while. And I walked back in my college, and everybody's priests. They're like, what did we?
He resurrected. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It was funny. It's like, no, I didn't die. That's only a story, that whatever. But it's interesting how that whole thing, in a way, it didn't affect me negatively. I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very happy to be here. But you go through all this, and you realize, that back to this idea is that your mind truly controls everything. Your thoughts control everything. And if you're willing to think about that, then you are willing to think about how you age, how you work, how you relate in this world, how you know, all these are in a way choices, and they might be really hard to rewrite because you've had some really horrible experiences or you have all this kind of thing going on. But I really think, again, surround yourself with stuff up in the happiest point of your life, and pretty soon you're mentally believing you're living that part of your life again. And you know, anyway, you know, again, it's fun, but that's part of what a project I'm working on right now. But
That's
it's
awesome.
just,
I love this. I love this.
it's fascinating, and I'm sorry, it's not really about the UFO stuff, but it's
No. We just don't talk about UFO stuff, Jesse.
okay.
We talk about a broad range of things, and what you're saying is so true. Because roller skates, you want to know how many pairs of roller skates I've got, or like, you know, I do. I get that. I get what you're saying. It's so fascinating to me. We do have a top of the hour break. I love to come back and pick up where we left off. Is that okay with you? I mean,
Good for
this
me.
is so fascinating. I think I'm just gonna like, you have no idea. Like in a matter of probably like 45 minutes, you have completely have me I don't even know how to explain it. So everybody, we're gonna take our top of the
I
hour
can't believe
break.
it's been an hour.
I know, man. And so SNX Radio, we are going to be back at just after our short break, and we'll have Jesse Marcel III. A lot more where that came from. He is absolutely brilliant, So, yes, Rodney, how cool is he? I absolutely love Jesse Marcel. So,
He's so laid back. Yeah, he's
yeah,
a guy to talk to.
I know. He never ceases to amaze me. And to everybody, we're gonna try and get to your questions. I see a ton of people that are on here on X and Facebook and YouTube. So go ahead and put those all in caps, and we will be getting those answered. And yes, again, we have Jesse Marcel here on SNX Radio. So we will be seeing you shortly. Just taking a top of the hour break. Oh.
Unraveling the mystery, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, some shadows aside, in the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the submission, next quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright.
From the combination next quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this road we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side. We stand hand in hand in this dance of truth. Let the story expand. Finding our place in the vastness we call home. With courage and wonder we reach for the light. Guided by visions that illuminate the night. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown. Truth and discovery seek we soul. In this starlit wonder we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Of our galaxy. And with the horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown. Truth and discovery seek we soul. In the starlit wonder we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Through endless horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Through endless horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Chasing the dreams that fill the night. Symphony nights, we were not named. A symphony of wonder, a secret key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Voice and soul with the cosmos whisper our name. A symphony of wonder under a celestial rhythm. In the deep passing moment, our wisdom grows. In the dance of the universe, the truth flows. In the quiet of the night, we dream and fly, with questions that echo through an endless sky. Bound by the stars, our story unfolds. In the universe, our destinies are told. Where are the stars and the secrets are shown? Radio navigates the night, investigating mysterious unknowns, bringing shadows into light, unlocking truths where alien seeds are sown.
Conversations with the experts unfold, whispers of the cosmos, stories bold, mad abductions, tales of the bizarre. On this endless quest we reach for the stars, and squadrons where the wild things play, cryptids lurking in the light of day. For honor, more quest, our eyes wide with wonder, the universe call, omen cosmic silence, we hear it all. From off-world encounters to haunting whispers, join the search as our spirit glimmers. Unveiling the mysteries of our place in the tapestry of time and space. Every shadow, a new dawn. Cricket to the red shadow pass over on. We don't know the crystal's eye. In the sinners quest, we reach for the stars.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SNX Radio. This is Coley and Rodney. Back to you from our little break that we take at the top of the hour. Just gonna make sure got everything going. Rodney, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so we've got Jesse Marcel III, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. So we are going to go ahead and bring him back. He just dropped, if you haven't seen the first part of this, you definitely have to go back and watch it. What do you think, Rodney? Before we bring Jesse out here real quick, my brain is just like, he just made so much sense all of a sudden. Like
I think it's great. He was touching on everything. You know, we a lot of people know about the Roswell crash, but hopefully now we can get into some of the atmospheric energy generator patent he's got. It sounds a lot like the 0 point, but it's different.
Yes. So let's go ahead. Yeah.
All right, we might have just lost Coley too here for a moment, but we're gonna get them both back up here. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Jesse Marcel and the whole Roswell incident. A lot of people. It's the first period. We're back. Where's Jesse? Nope.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna have to. We will have Jesse here, and as soon as I get his banner down, let's see here. There he is. No, we have Jesse back. Yes. I must have got so excited again. I don't know what it is going on. Sometimes StreamYard is a little temperamental. So, but we are back from our break, and Jesse, Rodney, how about you start? Jesse's got me. This doesn't happen very often, and people know me know that I'm never at a loss for words. But right now, I'm gonna pass it down to Rodney because I'm at a loss for words. Like I really am after everything Jesse just said. It just made so much
That's
sense
okay.
to me. Yeah, so
That's
go
okay.
ahead, Rodney. I'm gonna let you. Yeah.
He's been involved in a lot. What he's been up to now, it sounds like he's got some patents. He was mentioning on the green in our room that he starts a patent and then builds the company behind it. And what about the atmosphere energy generator? Is that something we could see from out of your company? Your microphone's muted, I think.
All on me now.
Oh, it all the technology that I've kind of been lucky enough to come up with anyway. It started as a propulsion system using magnetics and inertia and kind of using both forces to create. The idea was kids' fantasy about building a flying car. We're working on something true of what you would imagine that would be, but in the process, that does take a lot of money. I mean, it's just part of the so. In that process, as we're working down this road of a kind of a new propulsion system, it was very efficient, very, very powerful, like I was saying. And we thought, well, if you invert it, so instead of pushing it, instead of being and akin to a motor, if you push it with wind or water or anything, it becomes a generator. So what we did is we kind of turned our propulsion system inside out, and then started going to the path. We were working with Maya and Siemens, those some of the big engineering firms and all that kind of thing. And they went through and they proved out the patents and proved out the technology. And in that, we're actually we moved everything I'm doing is now in Dallas, Texas. Our headquarters for our company is, and all the stuff we're talking about, the energy at this point is wind energy. It's basically how to make what's out there actually work or function better than it does currently, that kind of thing. So it's really just the idea of kind of changing the way that energy is captured and then converted into electricity.
Does big oil or any of them companies approach you like threatening you? I mean, not just because of the inventions, but I mean, maybe in general, has anybody even connected to Roswell tried to silence you on any of this?
What's interesting, well, if I can go over the big story, when I was writing these patents, and I worked with another gentleman, Dr. Jeff Comendi, and we kind of started some of this stuff. I met him about 3 years into the company, something like that. And I'm going through, and I'm writing these patents, and we're bouncing ideas back and forth. We're writing all this stuff out, and then one day we get this notice, and it's basically to cease and desist everything we're doing, and we're thinking, well, that's kind of strange. What have we done involving our patents? And we had to go back and make a statement saying that neither of us worked for NASA or for the Department of Energy and all these things. And then they released the patents back to us, which was kind of fascinating for the direction we're going in. So there's as far as being watched, you think the process of writing patents is somewhat secure. It's not at all. But when you go down that path, like you just mentioned about our oil companies or whatever, we're actually working with them because like a pump jack uses electricity to operate. Currently, they use sometimes the big wind turbines. Sometimes they use diesel generators. All these different kinds of things. So we're actually complementary to what they're doing, and that area that we're working in really is it's everybody's wanted but hasn't been available in the size that we're doing. So it's kind of the opposite. In fact, they're wanting us. A number of countries across that we're in discussion with right now that all want our technology. So it's exciting. It's interesting. It's not where I was going with anything. It was like, honestly, it's not like I have anything against renewable energy or any of that. Nothing. It's a great thing, but it was definitely not my focus. I was focused on the flying sports car. So it's quite a variation there, but it turns out it all played together fairly well. So I write patents on that. Right now there's a patent going through about this. My healthcare stuff is healthcare. Again, medical device is a better way to put it. So I do a lot of that. I have quite a number of patents all over the world. If somebody gets excited about it, they can actually go and Google patents. You can see a lot of that stuff. It's all out there. But it's kind of tying together. You take something that's way out there and super complex, and you just distill it down to something that's manageable. Then you create something that's going to function the way you're writing, and then you prototype it and put it out there.
I'm really surprised you said big oil was working with you. I mean, they gotta really, you think they'd have to go in that direction because they gotta realize that the people want to phase out oil. It's too expensive. Electricity is being produced in the wrong way. Half of my bill is just the delivery fee.
There is, and I'm learning this, that like there's a lot of small islands, and they exist by ships bringing in diesel. That powers everything, and it's very expensive. Exactly, and it's very dirty. It's the whole thing. There's a lot of the world operates that way, and it's just this idea of what we do is we do a standalone microgrid, so that we put in a system that doesn't have to be hooked to anything. If you want to, we're talking to folks about to put a desalination plant in Hawaii. They can be off the coast. It doesn't connect to anything else. It creates its own power from it's efficient enough. It's like the concept there's nothing new about that, but actually to be able to carry it out is a different thing. And our efficiencies are about twice what the current technology is. So with that, we can go and create these plants or whatever people want. So just it's an interesting journey. I'm excited to get. I'm excited that company is. It's been going, and we're kind of evolving, and we're about to have a couple of products come out here in the next 30 or 45 days, I think, something like that. And then, so it's going to be exciting to go that way. We have a great team of people. Now I'm concentrating in this health area, which I'm very excited about. It's a little more, what do you want to call it? There's a little more involved, and I really like that. There's a little more thought involved. There's a lot more, just how technology is changing now. It all fits together really well. But no, the patents. I was gonna bring back like what you said. It's like when you think about the idea of how everything was related to something else,
Mm-hmm.
and relating back to UFOs. I mean, if you can imagine the belief in again, this connection between everything. I mean, it might be more realistic that that not given time that maybe in some advanced form you could create with your mind something. You could build something.
Yeah.
So what if you can? What if there's a process that allows an alien to assemble a UFO here purely
Right.
by mind? Matter, energy is all the same thing. It's like you could do anything you want. So if you really stretch it out there, you're thinking that any of these things are possible. And that's like, yeah, well, there is no, the speed of the aircraft or the craft doesn't aircraft, the speed of the UAP or whatever, call it whatever you want, doesn't make a difference because maybe mentally that whatever that ship is assembled here. And
What is?
and
I'm sorry. I have to ask you really quick. So, what are your thoughts in hearing everything that you're saying? Like at the end of our life, that we wake up and it says, "Congratulations, you have just passed your simulation on planet Earth." Like,
mm,
and you're 20 years in a totally different time, and like, is that kind of where we're going here? Because I feel like, what are your thoughts on that?
well, I have again, there's no substantiation for this. I'm just talking off my head, but I
Right.
thought about it. And if we're talking about death, right? The moment, the end of our life here,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, if you want to talk about that. And that there's a period of time, they say like 7 minutes, where where your body's basically done, is gone, that, but you still have your brain is still processing information for about 7 minutes. People say, well, you remember everything in your life, you do the kind of thing. Well, if you're willing to go out of the box, and the idea that before we were here, time didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
After we're here, time doesn't exist. We're forever. What if that 7 minutes is forever? Is it? Yeah, we understand that as 7 minutes of the end of our existence here. But what if the reality of 7 minutes is forever? There's a correlation between where you think you're going away, but it's really not. You're actually going to a position of where time does not exist anymore. And then yeah, if you're here on Earth, that's 7 minutes. To you though, it's forever. There is no difference. I thought about that a lot about
Yeah.
trying to make it, trying to distill it down a little again to the idea, but what does that mean? But I like my father passed away a number of years ago. I'm not quite sure what happened. It was some kind of a stroke or so, it happens to a lot of people. And I was told the story. He stood up and then fell over and he died. Just it was that fast. In my mind, being through what I've seen and what I've done, is like he was standing there and he saw himself fall.
Mm-hmm.
He did
Yeah.
not. There was no. It's not like whatever that would be. To me, it's like the difference between existence in our realm and existence in the universe, which is going on at the same time we're here, they're both similar, is you're just transitioning, and there is no, that death doesn't really exist, not in the way. I mean, we do it. The people. Obviously, we're here. We'll miss that person or whatever. That's all us. But
Mm-hmm.
the actual person, like I said, what I went through and clinically dying, I believe fully in that just because of my experience in it. And then again, if you start thinking more and more about, you know, I'm aging because I believe I'm aging. My cells are aging at a rate because I believe I'm supposed to believe this. It's part of humanity. It's like,
Yeah.
what if we're all wrong and everything we're doing is screwing ourselves by
Yes.
believing that?
I
It's
believe
like,
that.
no, that's where I really, we're in a way a little bit of our own worst enemy, in that you need to grab hold of that, live in that time you love the most, and and you'll grow to that level. Your genetics will simply go to that level. I mean, all of these things will happen, and I mean, it's all part of a bigger thing. But it's like I do absolutely believe that, and on there's some science that's coming out more and more that's kind of explaining that. And I've always thought, it's always that idea that time doesn't exist outside of ourselves, and if it does, and if you can go back and forth, again, you're everywhere. It's interesting. I don't want to get but it is. Like I said, I kind of have a different view, and people are there. It's one of those things. Like if you're fearful of death, that's a bad thing because you're driving yourself right to it. You're getting your body ready for that because your body thinks that, oh well, we're
Okay.
instead you're thinking that no, it's not. It's a new beginning. It's like this isn't the end. This is just another start. This is and live that way and believe it that way, and your body will be healthier, live long. You can't suppress it by. I don't want to bag on all. I'm not a huge fan of pharmaceuticals and stuff, but you can't.
Yeah, I
It's like
agree.
just do it healthy. I mean, you can't control. You'd be walking, and you get hit by a bus because you cross the street at the wrong time. Yeah, that happens. But the idea of this of consciousness of life and the existence in the universe and how how we live our essence, our consciousness lives in an area in a level that time doesn't exist, but here part of us does, and the barrier is very very thin, and you can live anywhere on the timeline you want. You just got to identify that and believe it, and you will in essence have those good feelings you had when you're doing that part of your life. Your body will be healthier because now it thinks you're that age, and it starts rewriting your genetics to that age. I mean, again, nothing is really that complicated if you're just willing not to, step away from what society tells you and what you're supposed to, beginning, end, die, whatever. It's I think it's the most fatalistic thing can say is like, is that you're here and you're gone. You're this and you're that. It's like no. It's like you're everything is a starting. Everything you do is a starting to something else. It's not. There is no beginning, middle, or end at all. And when you start writing your code, writing your genetics to an end, you're self-fulfilling prophecy, that kind of thing. And you just take those ideas and you take them in a universe in a sense of a relationship with aliens or life and whatever life may have a form of life that we don't even have an idea about. Wouldn't make any sense to our understanding of what life is, and being able to again be anywhere at any point. If time is removed from the equation, then everything exists everywhere.
So what was it like when you were dead in those moments, like when everything had flatlined? And you said it wasn't that you didn't feel some pain,
Well, no,
but
I don't think I felt any pain. I think that
okay.
was gone. I mean, the story was when I got in there, I was in horrible pain. Car broken up. I ended up broken back on exhaust, so I'm burning up. It was horrible. And the doctor, I kept saying, please do something. And he took the clock off the wall and set it on my head. And he said, when it hits this, we're going to take you into surgery. And somewhere, and they put that. So I'm looking at this thing, and somewhere, when this nurse said that, I became acutely aware of what she was saying. So again, I kind of sat up, but it wasn't like I saw some bright light. It wasn't like I was transitioning to somewhere else. I was still right there. But at that point, I could feel every emotion in the room, clear as day. I told them their conversations afterwards, and it's just like they're like, that can't happen, and I mean, everybody was in the room. I knew exactly how everybody felt about it. Everybody felt what was going on. The conversation was going on, and a weird thing happened. It's like I'm like I'm very beat up. I'm broken up. I had 18 broken bones, and I'm walking around the hallway with this little thing all, And when I had so many internal injuries, they couldn't really put casts on. I guess they had to do surgery, but I got somebody to let me kind of waddle around the hallways in the hospital in the middle of the night, and it is right around Christmas time. And I was talking. I said, my dad happened to be lucky skiing in Big Sky. They happened to be right by where the accident was, so he came down and he was like, he freaked out because you're worse than anybody I've seen in Vietnam, that kind of thing. And I'm sitting there, and somebody said something along the way. It's like, we're going to get you out of here. And I told them they're getting me out of here. And they're like, that doesn't make any sense. You're so bad, but okay. And somebody's messed up and wrote orders, and I left the hospital, and I shouldn't
Oh
have ever.
wow.
But it was like my mind is like I was out of there. I was done. I could not handle, and it was like 5 days. I could not handle being in the hospital another moment. And somehow that reality happened. Next thing I know, my fortunately my dad was a doctor. They set up a medical bed in the living room. I moved to, and it was a bad thing that now I was sent out with no pain medication, with nothing. So I was in immense pain because of it. But I did do that. I was able to move. I just by I feel bad because I think some people got in trouble for it, but I was able to. I believed myself. I was getting out of there, and the next thing I knew was I was out of there, and I never slowed down. They came back. I don't want to get into this, just blood clots and that kind of thing. They're always going to die again, but I never believed for an instant that was. I was. There's a funny story. I'm back. They have these. When you get a bad burn, they do. It's a really big. It's being an open wound until they can like move skin and that kind of thing. And they have these big netting on you and all this stuff. And I'm going crazy. And I was younger. I climbed mountains. Everything could possibly. I just loved being outside, and I love working on cars. So I'm down under my car in bandages and things holding me together, working on a car. But it's part of that idea. I think is that this is just a trend. This is just a moment in time. Just get past it and keep going. And it just seems like don't take anything so seriously. And if it does, it doesn't make a difference. But on the other side, I never took the idea of death that seriously in my life. It was like, no, it's not going to happen. And I'm here now to talk about it. So it's kind of, and the more I reflect on it, the more I think about it, then it's like it's kind of interesting how it all worked out. And now it's like I again, I should have had a very small percentage should have killed me, but now I'm lead a regular life. I work out all the time. I enjoy everything. I enjoy my family. I enjoy everything. And it's like, and it's just like, I think like anybody else, if you're in that position, that if you're ready to go, you're going to go, but if you're not ready to go, it's like, and I think you have a lot of control. And again, I think again, that last 7 minutes of life, I think that's forever. I think,
Wow.
while in your mind, it's 7 minutes in the existence of the universe, that 7 minutes is infinity. So,
Well, you're a fighter, and thank you for not giving up and having to share all these stories.
They're not giving up. He's still swinging. I mean, Jesse, I don't think you miss a beat.
This business partner of mine, his name is Jeff Gamenti. He is like, he kind of got in his mind the kind of same thing we talk about this about setting your life to a certain time in your life. And he saw what was that latest Marvel movie with Wolfman and Death. He now is the picture of health. I mean, he said, I want to be like the Wolfman, what he looks like, he goes, whatever. And he is now he has like a 9% body fat, pure muscle.
I'm trying this for real.
Look at this guy, Jesse Marcel. He's got himself stuck at somewhere between 25 and 28 years old is where he manifested himself. And he's going to be a young bachelor. Well, not a bachelor, but.
I love those times that you have the funnest, the most memories. That's where I live. But and I think
okay, Jesse, tell us where you're at. What's your favorite era? Like, what's the favorite? I know you mentioned some things that are like. So where's your favorite? What do you surround yourself with?
I actually surround myself with like electronic projects that I did with my dad when I was a kid. A crystal radio. Like I bought the same clock that I had when I was a child, the same digital clock, and that's how I go. Instead of my phone, I have the digital red readout clock by my phone, by my bed when I get up. That's when I look over it. That's what I look at when I'm sleeping or waking up. All those kinds of things. I do stuff like I go back, and eBay's great. I go back. I and my dad and brother did all all kinds of experiments. So I found the book that we did all those experiments in. So I went and got it and got a copy of it. When I was I'm a huge sports car nut, and I used to race and that kind of thing. I'm probably going to get back there at some point. And I love it. So what I do is, I always I was the nerdy kid that carried around 20 Motor Trend magazines with Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Cobras. And I just loved and spent my life all going through understanding everything I could about them. And so I went back and bought all those magazines that I had when I was a kid. And so I surround myself, and then you can't see it, but in my, it's kind of a mess in here. I was huge into rockets. My dad has every rocket and more that I built as a kid. I was into small flying airplanes while controlling. I have every single one of them that I had when I was a kid. So I'm surrounding myself with everything. It's like my den
That's
is
why
like
you're so. Oh,
store.
wow. And this is
So-
how you are too. Like personality wise, you have all these different things going on at one time and can maintain them. Like this that is like describes the Jesse Marcel, but yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm
I
gonna
like
try
it.
that. You have no idea. This is gonna be my new way of life. Like I'm not joking. This is brilliant.
If anybody, it's like, yeah, start surrounding yourself with whatever you loved about life, whatever it is. And it's like, because your mind is going to rewrite your genetics. It's like when you come to that point, your mind doesn't know, it's like, but it's recognizing those things, and your happiness will come through. Except there's no mystery in any of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you rewrite your genetics to your happiest time of existence. So why not?
Why
And you'll
not?
find yourself being happy. And
That's
take lots of
great.
vitamin D3
And vitamin D3.
and
No, and
vitamin
you know
D3.
what? I had a vitamin D deficiency. I was outside. I didn't see how it could happen because I go on zip lines. I like going relics. See, I'm like, I have been living part of this and I haven't realized what it was. But now I'm going all like, I'm going all in. I'm going all in. This sounds great, Jesse. This is like brilliant right here.
And vitamin D, it's actually not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. This was explained to me. It got called a vitamin sometime in history. It's like they kept that term. It's actually a hormone. And it's based it. If you live somewhere where like near the equator where it's hot and sunny all the time, you're gonna get tons of vitamin D. But if you move up north, you have less vitamin D and you go into hibernation mode. And that's the natural thing. But if you can induce high amounts of vitamin D within reason, at a different, further from the equator, let's say, less sunshine, or even in sunshine but not as intense sunshine, then your body all of a sudden is realizing, wait, we're not hibernating, we're living, and that is monumental. And I didn't know that until this friend of mine, Dr. Dick Clementi, he went through this. And it's a life changer. It's like having enough vitamin D. Yeah, like I said, you go from being hibernating to living, and it's that straightforward. And there unfortunately not to banter on pharmaceuticals again, but there isn't any money in that.
No,
There's no money in telling you to take higher levels of vitamin D, and because of that, they say no, but take this instead. Now take this instead. This will solve this problem. Guess what? You're depressed, all these problems. Take some vitamin D. I would bet more than half of stuff that's, some people obviously have some physiological situations where it doesn't make a difference, but for the most part, people that are down, depressed, boy, pump up vitamin D, D3, the hormone D3, you take yourself out of hibernation, and guess what? You start feeling good about everything. And
that makes so much sense. Yeah, we're just coming out of hibernation in Iowa. I don't know, but yeah, that makes so much sense. Wow.
Are we coming out of hibernation? We went from being caveman, getting technologically advanced, to sitting in little different caves of a different kind now. That's why we need vitamin D. Yeah.
We definitely need it. It's like I would encourage anybody to at least test yourself for it. But I think I take a fair amount of it, and you take vitamin D and you take vitamin K with it, because K absorbs the vitamin D into your system, in your bones and that kind of thing. But there's a ton of information if you want to look for it on the internet, I'm sure. But
I want Jesse Marcel's information because you've tested this out, and I know how your brain works. And if you're saying it, then I want it. No, yeah.
My wife and her friends, not my wife's doing it, it's changed her to being. Not that she was an upset person, but just all of a sudden everything's bright and sunny. My kids, all of her friends, everybody is getting on this bandwagon, and it's changing everybody. It's instead of being a kind of a depressive, worn out state, all of a sudden everybody has energy and they're out there. It's literally like flipping a switch, and it all has to do with you. And that hormone D is what sets you from being alive and exciting to being in hibernation. It's exactly what does that. So don't, just
How
like I
much?
said, look.
How much like vitamin D we talking and K? Or can you tell
I
me
think
off?
20,000 IUD is what I
20,000.
take a day. And then the vitamin K, it actually has the stuff I has K that can. I can find out past. I'm really not quite sure. It's kind of
Okay.
prepackaged stuff, but the K doesn't do anything for you, but it absorbs it. But like, there's plenty
Right.
of vitamin or of vitamin D3 supplements you can find out there, and they have K with it. So when you take it, you already have the K with it that allows it to absorb it. So that's one thing. Like extreme, is explained to me anyway. Extreme amounts of vitamin D, which is much higher than what I take, but you can take extreme amounts of it. But then it doesn't get absorbed into your system. So you need to take this. The K helps absorb into your system, and then you can take elevated forms of D3. And I mean, for me, it's crazy. It's like at the gym, I'm also lifting 30% more weight. I am more energetic. I'm more positive about everything. Instead of being mad at that guy who just cut me off, I'm like, oh well, he must be having a bad day. It's
Yeah.
literally it
So do
follows.
you do the superhero thing then when you go to the gym?
What's that?
Do you do the superhero thing when you go to the gym, like
Superhero
your
thing? I don't know.
business partner? As
Uh,
I'm
he
Wolverine. I want to know
he
what yours was if
he
you're
he
going into the gym.
he is it's actually quite amazing how he's been able to transform himself in 6 months. I mean, literally everybody around him was like, this doesn't make any sense how you've been able to do this. But it's part we talk about a lot about the mental part, and again he's a lot into this vitamin D stuff. He's the one that's got me started. He said you don't realize when you start looking at it, a lot of people are on these all these different medications to help you with this and help you with that. You get on this vitamin D, and a lot of them are going to go away. And it's just natural. But again, there's not any money in it. So vitamin D is actually really cheap. It's very inexpensive. There's nothing. It's just kind of interesting how it works out. But I would stand by it. Like night and day. It is so different.
Oh
You
yeah,
just
yeah.
feel it, and kind of me. It's like I between that and a kind of an idea of living the happiest point in my life or reliving those happiest points. You put it all together, and all of a sudden, you know, those things that the society teaches you, kind of go away. To feel a certain way or act a certain way. Grow up. Well, why? What the heck?
Yeah, really. That's what I say. Grow up. Who wants to do that?
You can enjoy the best. Enjoy that best point of your life. Don't let it just be a memory. And
Right.
I absolutely believe that. Like same thing. That you alter your genetics. I mean, it happens with a transplant of your heart. I mean, your genetics all of a sudden you crave whatever the poor soul was that gave you their heart. That kind of thing. I mean, that genetically changes you. And
Yeah. Oh.
when you look at it that way, it's like it's like it's there's so many things out there that are kind of optics of this idea that have been around, but literally it's like for me it's like it's simple. Surround yourself with whatever you love the most about a point in your life, whatever it is, and your mind starts believing that is where you are. And
So
guess
how many
what?
days? So if we do the Jesse Marcel challenge, how many days to change our like?
If you start taking the D3 at higher levels,
Mhm.
in about 2 weeks you start feeling like you're almost on a high, almost like wow, all of a sudden you feel more energetic, more clear headed, and then I mean it's a very high peak. I mean you feel, and then you get used to it over time, so it's not like that. But now you live in that area where you are in a like I said, you really I think your body can take on more challenges by doing that. I mean, you're ready for it. Again, a high vitamin D is like, you're now your body's ready to live. It's not ready to hibernate. And when you start getting that, then you get the right attitude, you get the right mental state on everything around you, and
Yeah.
and
Oh, this is great.
so
This is great.
it
I'm writing it all down. I'm calling it the Jesse Marcel challenge, and I will keep you posted because everybody should be getting excited about life. That's what I
this one thing.
said. This is missing. Yeah.
I'm doing this. This was some other people. They came to me. It's kind of fun, but this other thing I'm doing, which is going to measure on a moment by moment basis how you're doing. And
Oh,
it's a medical device. But it's going to be something. But it's kind of fun because I'm thinking about
can I
it's
volunteer?
good to do this and relieve it. But what if there's a way to measure it? And so that's
Yes.
what I'm working on.
I heard you
Exactly.
say that before too, and I was going to question you on it. But if you need any volunteers, Like,
Ah, good.
yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
wants to?
Oh, heck yeah.
Just it's all being set up. I'm actually we're gonna my son again is an absolute genius. Is helped me with we're doing a lot of stuff right now on that. And a large company has come forward and they want to joint venture and partner with us to elevate it everywhere. So
Oh,
they
for
kind of came out of the blue, which is kind
sure.
of funny. It's like I didn't expect it, but I said, okay, well, if everybody wants this, let's do it. But it is
Yeah,
fun. I mean,
it's
beyond that, I
brilliant.
mean,
It really is brilliant. It really is. So
uh,
does that lead us to the flying sports car? Because I'll be I'll volunteer myself as to ride in that first. I mean, like, or at least, like, the first
it
10
there,
rides. I mean, seriously, that's
Right.
amazing.
on the
What's
science side.
that?
Right now there's kind of like it's really electric helicopters. So there is stuff going on this, but they are electric helicopters. Not too much different from drones, that kind of thing. And so it kind of works, but not very well. And the idea is, I would think in the next couple of years we'll either join with a company and retrofit our new kind of propulsion into their chassis, into their airframe, or we'll have our own. I love designing flying sports cars, so it might be our own. I don't know to start out with, but yeah, the whole idea of if you picture that what you would think a flying car was, you don't picture a electric helicopter. You don't. That's not how you think. You think a flying car is something you can park in your driveway, and that's what we're working on is to get something that's actually like that. That's very safe. That it actually the propulsion, because it creates a huge amount of inertia. It it actually doesn't want to fly. It fly off the ground, yeah, but it doesn't want to move. You actually have to force it to change instead of trying to control it. You got to take it out of control to move it. So it's completely reverse thinking on how you would fly something.
So you're not spinning liquid mercury, magnetizing it, and
No, there's all I mean that creates inertia, in a way, yeah, though it's some of those principles. It's just how you instead of working against inertia, you work with it and use that as a platform basically. So it's all like I said, it's fun. I like we like our the last we got talking about patents I put through had zero pushback. Zero. There's nobody out there. Usually when you write a patent, you always have, well, we have something similar to that, so now you go back and argue and that kind of thing. But we had absolutely nobody even contested anything we're doing in that propulsion area. And I know it works.
nice.
Oh boy. Yes.
But it's fun. I think we have it. We're as we move forward with it. So
Oh boy. That's
I
You're gonna keep.
exciting. So now wow. Well,
think
Jesse, like, I know we kept you for about 2 hours.
time's
Can
flown
we
by.
invite you? Can we invite you back, because I
Oh, sure.
have so many more questions for you, and I'm
I,
just wow.
this is
Wow.
fun. This is like a release for me. It's like all of a sudden this is just fun to talk about. I don't have to whatever. So it's all good for me. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
there's so many amazing things that you said, and it really is. And like I'm taking the Jesse Marcel challenge. If you don't know what that is, you just kind of rewind back, because this is.
Do it. Yeah, it's like
I think that's
I mean
great.
it's kind of really just common sense, but just yeah, I mean live your best life. It's like you just got to find that happy
Yeah,
spot
I'm
and live
going
it.
in as Wonder Woman though. If I go into the
Oh, I
gym,
like that idea.
like,
Okay.
yeah. When you said that your partner was going in as who? Now I just
Wolverine.
the Wolverine. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean he
I
is literally
thought,
getting the
man,
physique
I
of
gotta find
Wolverine,
one here.
and
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just like
going
it's
as Wonder Woman.
crazy. It's like people are like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? He's a medical doctor. But all of a sudden now he's like one of the most. I mean, just his fitness is I mean, he's Olympic style. It's unbelievable, and he's done this. So it's like it is. It's
Wow,
like,
I'm totally
uh,
trying this. Yes, yes. So that's great. So I guess on last notes, is there anything that you wanted to leave your audience with, other than we're going to be setting Jesse up to come back very soon, because
do
I'm
that.
so
I,
excited,
I'm
and I
really
want to
poor.
check into the patents, and I'm you're onto something. I know you're onto something.
I'm really poor about social media and stuff. I get so busy a lot of stuff. But yeah, if we want to do this again in a couple of months or whatever, I'll have some more so people can go up and look at it if they want to. A place to go to rather than this conversation. But it's I enjoyed this.
Awesome.
So,
Yes. Well, I'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Jesse. We
oh,
appreciate it. And
Yeah.
Rodney,
Thank
is
you,
there
Jesse.
anything,
thank you, Ronnie.
or any last questions for Jesse? I mean, I could ask him all day long, so I'm cutting myself off.
Right. Any last questions? Because There's so much we could talk about, Jesse. I don't know. We have kept you for a while. That's okay, man. We'll make time next time.
Well,
And
let's talk about alien intelligence next time, or whatever you want.
Yes,
Whatever you got. I'm happy to talk about anything. So.
Oh, thanks again. In the chat, everybody is saying thank you, and they really appreciate all of it. So, yes, and then we had
everybody live a good life. I mean, you can do it. You can do it. So.
Yes, what would Jesse say? That's gonna be my. I'll keep everybody
He's
up
more
to
than
date
just a
too, because I'm
UFO guy.
taking this challenge. Oh yeah, he's. I know. And I said with Jesse Marcel, I said that is just such a small part of this package, and he's got so much. He always blows my mind. I'll ask him, "What are you working on?" or talking to him, and he there's never just like one or two things. He's got like a list, and he's not joking. As you see, he's always. I mean, that's great. So I'm taking the Jesse challenge. I don't know about you guys.
We'll start the Jesse challenge. That's funny. But
yeah. Well,
it's your idea.
No, it has a ring to it. It has a ring to it.
Coley's idea. So all forwarded messages go to Coley for the Jesse Marcel challenge.
Yeah. What is he said? We are taking the Jesse Marcel III challenge. So yeah, I'm telling you though, a lot of what he's saying is stuff that I do, and I'm like, oh no, I get this, and if you have not gotten the chance, and he's so like humble about what he does, and I'm like, you do so much that people don't even realize all of the things that he's doing. I mean, man, and then if he says his son is, I mean, this is a brilliant line of people. If you saw his thinking, he thinks on a brilliant level. Now, can you imagine going back that in the 1947, what he's saying and recalling? Jesse's not one to even like waver like that, and he always stays like grounded. He's very grounded in a lot of ways, you know. So, but yeah, he thinks like. You know, it's like he's like the singularity. Like I feel like
he projects himself. He projects himself as being sincere and true in anything that he does, for sure. Yeah, I can't wait to have another conversation with him about some more things.
Oh yeah, me too. I've been writing notes, you know, because I'm taking the Jesse Marcel III challenge, and tell me that doesn't have a ring to it. Oh, Jesse, thank you. Like seriously, I needed that. After everything Rodney did, wasn't it like just it was like a perfect show today.
Perfect comeback show, yeah. Manifest your reality. Put yourself and surround yourself with where you want to be. Believe in it, and it will be there.
Yes, and I appreciate everybody that, you know, in chat and that have been keeping an eye out. I did see you. So yeah, I appreciate everybody, just so you know, everybody. And Rodney, of course, you, like, there's a lot I can't say right now, but I do always appreciate you and the team that, you know, that rides behind us. There's so many. It's just profound. So I always say be good to one another, and thank you on behalf of SNX Radio for taking the journey into the unknown. And Rodney, you want to leave us with any closing words of wisdom?
Well, just enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe. Summer is right around the corner, and we're all going to be excited to do a lot of things, and just take your time. Like Jesse Marcel, you got me stuck on this challenge now. Surround yourself with where you want to be, where you see, and we'll be there.
The Jesse Marcel III challenge. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Third time's a charm.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So on that note, we are going to say goodnight. We're going to let our exit music out. But if you didn't get a chance to watch this episode, you have to start from the beginning, because it definitely blew my mind. So I'm imagining it will blow yours too. So yeah. Oh gosh. He's great. So on behalf of SNX Radio, we're going to say goodnight.
We try
ride. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright.
From the foundation heights, Christ, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse is where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this road we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is bold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand. In this dance of truth, let the story expand. Sunlight on my face, gonna make it worthwhile. Feel the good vibes embrace. Step into the street, music in the air. Move into the beat, no worries to declare. We're chasing happiness and never ever can. Living in the moment like a never-ending dance. Chasing happiness, not a single day's planned. Together we are stronger, hand in hand. Laughing with my friends, echoes in the park, joy that never ends, even when it's dark. Stars shine in the night, mirror in our eyes. Everything feels right underneath the skies. We're chasing happiness and never ever can. Living in the moment like a never-ending dance. Chasing happiness, not a single day's planned. Together we are stronger, hand in hand. Hand in hand. Laughing with my friends, echoes in the park, joy that never ends, even when it's dark. Stars shine in the night, mirror in our eyes. Everything feels right underneath the skies. We're chasing happiness and never again. Living in the moment like a never-ending dance. Chasing happiness, not a single day's planned. Together we are stronger, hand in hand. Hand in hand.
creep. Whispers of secrets in silence seep. Coley's voice cuts through the dark, guiding us where the mystery spark. A journey awaits, far from our home, through realms unseen where wild thoughts roam. With experts aligned, their truth to share, unfolding the fabric of cosmic despair. Take the leap, step into the night. With SNX Radio we will ignite a symphony of strange where the bass drops low. Journeying deep where the unknown flows. UFOs glisten in the starlit sky. ET whispers, look up, don't be shy. Paranormal tales woven into fate as Coley invites us to contemplate. Feel that chill when shadows align. Experiences unfold, one of a kind. Off-world encounters, true